Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fierce and Fearless podcast, the debut edition. I'm Brian Nemeth. Most people know me as Scoop. Well, obviously, we are not live streaming on the TriCaster professionally like we should. So I'm talking to you on camera and on the teleprompter. And we were hoping to connect the TriCaster to the YouTube like we originally planned, but like other things in life, things don't go exactly like we planned to have it. So my good friend Matt Struck and fellow DCM member had come up with an idea to connect the camera I'm talking to you on right now to the laptop.
And I'm honored to be here, and I'm a big fan of Scoop and Nemeth, and I'm glad I can be in support.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, anywho, I'm Brian Scoop Nemeth, but most people know me. I'm Brian Nemeth, and most people know me as Scoop. And this podcast exists because there are a lot of conversations about people with disabilities, but not nearly enough conversations with us. This show was created to be visually engaging and real and inclusive, not sanitized, not inspirational for the sake of the able bodied comfort. These are real conversations from people who actually live this stuff every day. Fierce and Fearless is a platform for people with mental and physical disabilities to share their own perspectives, tell their own stories, and challenge the misconceptions that still exist today in media and society. We're here to talk about disability issues, sure, but we're also here to talk about everyday life, current events, relationships, sex, frustration, humor, all of it. This podcast is for disabled listeners and viewers who want to be seen, and for non disabled viewers who actually want to understand, not assume. This is for people who are open minded, curious, and am sick and tired of fake inclusion. What makes this show different? This is how we do it. This isn't a panel of experts talking at you. Some of you might remember the glory days of talk radio in the 80s and 90s. Remember Larry King from Mutual Radio before he went big time on CNN? Remember Bruce Williams on TalkNet late at night also? This podcast is built like old school talk radio. Real conversations, real calls, real back and forth, and everything. This kind of shows where listeners weren't shouted or divided. Think friendly, sharp, and fun. This is also a high production visual podcast, not static screen or Zoom boxes. We're talking animated openers like the one you just seen, on screen graphics, live interaction, and later on, real commercial breaks. Because disability led content deserves the same kind of polish as anything else you see on YouTube and television right now. And yes, this show is uncensored. There are no FCC rules here. Humor is allowed, swearing is allowed, including words like shit and fuck. Being uncomfortable is allowed. What's not allowed is talking over people, dismissing lived experiences, and pretending that disability is something that needs to be fixed. Right now, I'm flying solo right now, but as the show progresses, you'll see a diverse panel in the studio. Other people besides me with autism, Asperger's, Down syndrome, paraplegia, non disabled allies, and all racially diverse, bringing different and unique perspectives. This show is about representation without tokenism at all. At its core, Fierce and Fearless exists to promote inclusivity, empowerment, and understanding, not by preaching, but by letting people speak for themselves, including, and what I mean by speak for themselves is disability people given the mic, putting the mic in their hand, letting them speak. If you ever felt talked, underestimated, or being straight up given the cold middle finger by the world, this podcast is for you. The Phoenix logo you see, the Phoenix you see in our logo represents exactly that. Rising after being dismissed, underestimated, or told to shut the fuck up. Fierce and Fearless is about rising anyway, with your voice intact. And if you're here to listen, learn, laugh, maybe rethink a few things, you've come to the right place. The phoenix in our logo didn't come from nowhere. It came from moments when I had to figure out how to rise after rejection, pressure, and being misunderstood. I want to share something personal because I think it explains a lot how autistic people move through the world before Primacia Couture became what it is now. I was out on the street selling my work, audio CDs, writing pieces, and t-shirts. Matt, roll that Finding Nemeth. This is an excerpt from the documentary Finding Nemeth from my friend Chris Chaos of Chaos Productions, which is now Mayhem Factory. This is an excerpt from the documentary made about me, showcasing what I've done walking up and down Tejon Street, approaching strangers, asking them to stop for a minute. At the same time, I was a student at Pikes Peak Community College, which is now Pikes Peak State College, trying to get through the semester. When people asked what the money was for, I simply told them the truth. School supplies to get through the upcoming and throughout the semester. Some people were amazing. They listened, they bought my work, they became fans. Others said no, again and again. And those no's weren't cruel. But the repetition changes how rejection feels. For me, it didn't feel like not interested. It felt like being evaluated. Autistic people don't just approach someone. We calculate timing, tone, facial expression, body language, exit strategy, all at once. So when that effort ends in rejection, it drains you. Eventually, my body decided something my brain hadn't admitted yet. Cold approaches aren't exactly sustainable. Now Matt, roll the clip of me looking like a street hawker, looking like a stadium vendor, hawking Primacia Creations, which is now Primacia Couture, showcasing me downtown hawking handmade soaps, t-shirts, coffee mugs, and handmade soap and all that great stuff. I look like a stadium vendor, don't I?
Looks great.
So my point being is, now when I vend, I wait. I let people approach me. I let the interest be voluntary. That's not fear. That's self-knowledge. Autistic people don't fail at social Autistic people don't fail social systems. We survive them. There's another survival response that shows up when pressure hits. When I'm nervous, put on the spot, I bite part of my thumb. And I did exactly that before we went live. I did exactly that because with those technical issues, with those technical problems, I thought, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm a dead man, oh my God. When I'm nervous or put on the spot, I bite part of my thumb. It happens when there's expectation, when there's judgment, when I don't have an instant answer. That movement helps me stay regulated long enough to think. For years, I thought that was something to hide. It's not. It's my nervous system doing its job. Once I stopped treating these responses like flaws, I started designing my life around how I actually function. And that's what Fierce and Fearless is all about. Not pushing disabled people to perform, but creating a space where we can speak without burning out. And if you ever felt rejection deeper than some other people seem to, if you ever need a pause before answering, you're not weak. You're not weak. You're adapting. And adaptation is power. And to understand why adaptation becomes necessary in the first place, I need to explain what I mean when I say the world wasn't built for you, and why masking becomes a survival skill. When I say the world wasn't built for you, I'm talking about how most social rules, workplaces, and expectations assume one specific way of thinking, communicating, and expressing yourself. And if you fall outside of that, you're the one expected to adjust. For me, that shows up in humor and expression. I understand the world through raunchy humor, burp jokes, fart jokes, sex jokes, words like shit and fuck. Shows like South Park and Family Guy make sense to me. The timing, the exaggeration, the absurdity, that's how my brain connects. But that same humor that's normal or funny in one context suddenly becomes a problem in another. A word like fuck in the product name, singing a South Park song under my breath, burping during a Weird Al parody, even though it's literally part of a song. Then at social events, at a social event, I seen a different parody. Same energy, same intention, and it's totally fine. People laugh, no correction. So the rule isn't don't be funny. The rule is be funny in exactly the right way and exactly the right time for exactly the right people. And those rules are never explained. That's where masking comes in. Masking is constantly filtering yourself. What jokes can I tell? Who is it safe to tell them to? Can I sing this? Can I say that word? Am I about to cross the line I didn't even know was there? And it's not just humor. Even people joking with me is tricky because I often take things literally. I take things seriously. I don't know if someone is joking with me. I don't know if someone is playing around with me. Later, my friends will say, Scoop, we're just joking. We're just having fun with you. Chill. But at the moment, I don't have that filter. When people say everybody does this, what they miss is the frequency and the cost. I'm not adjusting once in a while. I'm adjusting all at the same time. That's what I mean when I say the world wasn't built for you. Not that you've done something wrong, but that default settings don't match in how your brain works. And that masking I talked about earlier, that's exactly what commercial radio and all the mainstream media quietly demands. Which brings us into the elephant, which brings us to the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room that we need to talk about, especially when it comes to disability and the media. Come on, let's be honest for a second. Neurodivergency and physically disabled hosts don't exactly have an easy path into commercial talk radio. In Denver, most commercial talk radio is anchored by familiar voices you hear every day. On stations like KOA, that's people like Mike Rosen, Rick Barber, Ross Kaminsky, Jenna Gondek, April Sesba, Michael Brown, and of course, Dave Logan. On KHOW, you've got personalities like Ryan Schuling, Dan Caplis, the syndicated Joe Peggs, and of course, the troubleshooter Tom Martino. These are seasoned pros, decades of experience, tight formatting, strong followings, and I want to be clear. This isn't about criticizing individual hosts. It's about the system around them. Radio runs on strict clocks, rigid formats, and very specific expectations about how a host is supposed to sound, react, and perform in real time. If you communicate differently, if you pause, process, stim, and need an extra second, or have physical needs, those differences are often treated as problems instead of just differences. And here's the part most people don't see. Even if a disabled or neurodivergent host is smart and engaging, the talented even if a neurodivergent host is smart, engaging, and talented, the biggest barrier isn't usually the audience. It's the behind the scenes, producers, program directors, engineers, and sales teams. If the people running the booth don't understand your disability, then pauses become dead air. Processing time becomes awkward, and differences become risk. The pressure forces the disabled host to mask, spend more energy managing perception than actually communicating. And that right there is exhausting. So let's be real. Neurodivergent and physically disabled almost never get to share the same booth with the stars on KOA or KHOW. not because we lack ability, but because commercial radio isn't comfortable with how we communicate. Now layer that on top of what's happening to the media as a whole. More people are streaming, more people are listening and watching on demand. Fewer people are organizing their lives around a broadcast schedule. Just like television lost ground to streaming, radio is feeling that shift too. Podcasting changed the rules. You can pause, rewind, watch, listen when you want, and most importantly, podcasting doesn't require disabled people to squeeze themselves into a system that was never designed for us. We don't have to hit the clock down to a second. We don't have to sound like everybody else. We don't have to hide our brains and how our brains and bodies work. That's why I don't see podcasting as a downgrade from commercial radio. I see it as a correction. For decades, disabled people were told, "You're interesting, just not on this platform." Podcasting says, "Build your own." And Fierce and Fearless exists because I'm not interested in surviving rigid systems. I'm interested in building better ones. On this podcast, pauses aren't failures. Processing time isn't a weakness. Difference is not a distraction. It's the point. So, with all that said, here's how the show is different and what you can expect every time you hit play or join us live. First, it's not just me behind the microphone forever. As the Fierce and Fearless podcast grows, you're going to see a panel in this studio, usually one or two disabled panelists and one or two non disabled panelists, different abilities, different backgrounds, different perspectives, and yeah, everybody in the booth is going to be wearing clothing I designed from Primacea Couture, the brand that powers this podcast. Because visibility matters and representation doesn't stop at conversation. Second, conversations are real. I'm not interested in watered down, safe, tiptoeing discussions. We're going to talk about real life, sex, relationship, frustrations, success, humor, and all the stuff people usually get uncomfortable pretending disabled people don't experience. This isn't inspiration porn. This is real motherfucking talk. Third, this show isn't just about disability talking to disability. We're going to bring in well known personalities, public figures, and people working in different industries, including media and fashion. We're going to ask the questions that usually don't get asked. How do people with disabilities move through a world that wasn't built for them? What does success actually look like? How can disabled people kick serious butt in industries like media, broadcasting, and content creation? That includes talking directly to people already in the media business, producers, hosts, creators, and asking them how these spaces can change and how disabled people can claim this space right now, not someday, right now. And finally, this isn't a show where you can just kick back and watch. This is about conversation. We live stream for a reason because most people because because one of the most important voices in this space is yours. So when we are live, we open the phone lines and this becomes a shared conversation. And and we did plan on having live call-ins, but again, there were some problems with the phone lines where we can't take live calls, so we're doing this YouTube chat right now. We're doing the live chat right here on this YouTube live stream. Your experiences, your questions, your perspective, bring your lived experience with you. The challenges you face every day, whether you live with a disability or don't. Just one rule: keep it respectful, keep it honest, and speak from your own lived experience. So we have a couple people right here. So we have a couple people right here. And so we have a couple people right here, but we Tam, Tamisha Carey 5491 already commented as we were live streaming, and what a brave thing you are doing, Scoop, and kudos to you and for your courage. That's right, create your own lane. Yeah. Woo-hoo. We are getting some cool comments so far. We're getting some great comments so far on the live chat. And apologies for not for things not we apologize, and again, we apologize for things not going exactly like we hoped for, from connecting the TriCaster to the YouTube live stream so that we can go live in a professional way with animated openers and sound on tape and B-roll and all that good stuff. And also, we also apologize for for the phone system like we promised. The phone calls where you can actually call us live and discuss your thoughts and your perspectives. We apologize for that, but hey, it's a learning experience and something we can practice and rectify and get ready for next time. And Matt, what are your thoughts on the podcast and how we're doing so far?
I think we're doing great, and you giving a voice to people that need it and also talking to allies, I think is amazing. And you're just a longtime media personality in Denver, so I think it fits your brand. So thank you for asking me. I appreciate being included.
My pleasure, Matt. And it's still a great learning experience on how to rectify technical problems. And that's why we are pre-recording the whole thing on the TriCaster so that we can chop it up and do some post-production editing and make it look professional, while Matt here did some live streaming, did the pre-recorded opener, and did the opener and all that good stuff. Make it look professional. Make it look professional on that restream thing, even though we're not doing it from the podcaster. We still make it look professional. So it's a whole learning experience, and how we can rise from this is, for one thing, technical snafus aren't a reflection of you, how can we support friends that mask? Yeah, and we can have, all they have to do is chat on the live stream and discuss the problems, and even have people call in, have those have our, how can we support our friends that mask? We can have them call in, have them chat on the live chat, and I read it out, and they can just let loose right here.
Great answer. Love it.
Yeah. And for next time, it's all for next, even though how much, even though it's been 2 weeks planning to get this live stream and everything up and running, sometimes things don't go exactly as planned, exactly like we hope for. No matter how much we plan, there are some things that go wrong. Ain't that right?
Yep, it happens.
Yeah. And just want to take a moment before we wrap up. Just what you heard from the chat, from the live chat, from the live chat, from different perspectives, stories from different perspectives. This is exactly why this podcast exists. Different lives, different challenges, different ways of moving through the same world. Some of you hollered, some of you participated in the live chat with a disability, some of you didn't. But what connected all of it was honesty. And that's what I want Fierce and Fearless to be. Not a performance, not a debate, not a competition, but a space where people can actually show up as they are and actually be heard. We're not here to pretend the world is fair. We're not here to pretend life is fair. It's not. We're not here to sugarcoat struggle. We're here to talk about how people actually live and how we actually keep going, even when the world wasn't exactly built for us. This was just the beginning. More voices are coming, more conversations are coming. And as this space grows every time someone chooses to speak honestly, and man, yeah, this is gonna get better. Anything you want to say before we wrap?
Just thank you for having the courage to be yourself. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to Scoop for having the courage to be himself and making an amazing show and sharing it with Denver Community Media.
My pleasure. And hopefully we'll be polished and better looking, and hopefully things go exactly as planned from a technical perspective. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about what being fierce and fearless actually means. Because it's not about being loud, reckless, or fearless in a movie trailer sense, especially if you're disabled. Being fierce and fearless doesn't mean pretending things do not affect you. It means knowing when to adapt, when to not erase yourself. For a lot of us in the disabled community, just existing takes courage. When things don't go exactly as planned, you adjust accordingly and keep going. Yeah. Yeah.
Pros do.
Yeah, when things don't go exactly as planned, You adjust accordingly and you keep going. Yes. Because after all, the show must go on. Even when technical snafus happen, even when things don't go exactly as planned, the show must go on. And life definitely should go on. For a lot of us in the disabled community, just existing takes courage. Going to work, speaking up, making something, asking what you need, deciding not to apologize for how your brain and body actually works. Fierce can mean saying, this is how we communicate, not shrinking it. Fearless can mean trying again after rejection, after rejection, after snafu, after snafu. Even if it looks different this time, it can mean choosing your people carefully, choosing the rooms where you don't have to mask as hard, choosing moments where you let yourself be fully you. Even much respect, Scoop, for keeping it real. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hoo-wee. Choosing moments where you let yourself be fully you, even if it's just one moment a day. And sometimes fierce and fearless is quiet. It's surviving, it's resting, it's protecting your energy. You don't owe the world a fucking performance. You don't owe anyone comfort at the expense of your authenticity. You're allowed to move through a world in a way that works for you, even if it wasn't built with you in mind. And if all you do today is show up as yourself, even imperfectly, that counts. All right, our debut edition is in the books. I want to thank all of y'all for being part of it. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching the live stream. I want to thank you for being a part of it. And I'm going to leave you with this. Life is a difficult bitch, especially if the world wasn't built for you. But however you move through it, do it fierce, do it fearlessly. Aight? I'm Brian Scoop Nemeth. Until next time, rise like a badass motherfucker. Peace.